quick to take sides and reluctant to talk to each other. I was wondering, the reason I asked that question, I was wondering if your information actually helps people talk to each other rather than just fortify their position.
Yeah, and I think that's a bigger issue than just on wolf management. I believe that's a comment about our national position and our ability to enter into political discourse in general right now, because I think we all see it on 24-hour news cycle. You know, and this is not a political statement, we have our liberal commentator over here, looks at the set of facts, boom, they have their list of ideas in about 20 seconds. And then you have your conservative commentator over here, sees the same list of facts, boom, they have their take on it in about 20 seconds, and they're going to talk. And it's not a discourse. It's, you know, their talking points. And I think so. One of the, I'm not saying anything you don't know on that one, but what I think I really believe our role is to facilitate those conversations. And so even if just our facts being there aren't good enough, what role can we as an organization play to nudge those two people to the table and even sit there and help the dialogue happen? I think it's a role we've played in the past, and I think it's a role we can play in the future. It's just getting there that is the real challenge.
Isn't Dr. Meach typically sought out for questions about these issues?
Yeah.
And his opinion, I mean, he expresses his opinion, not just, you know, without significance. So, does he represent the Wolf Center at that time, or does he represent himself? I mean, I think they're pretty closely tied.
Yep, it's an interesting question. I'm smiling because I was just having this conversation. Dr. Meach will state publicly when he's representing what organization. He makes public statements as a member of our board. He makes public statements as a scientist for the USGS, and he'll make public statements as a private individual. And
you must get confused.
Yeah, he's pretty clear on it, because some of that is driven by the ethics rules of his employer, and so I can't speak for him, but what I understand is that he tries to make it very clear when he's doing what, and so oftentimes he'll appear in our magazine with his USGS information as contact information, and I think that's appropriate. And I think I've been comfortable so far as where he's drawn that line, but
it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like you have a point and counterpoint articles that often give different. One thing I've been seeing over the years following in Minnesota, it seems that the wolf numbers have reached the goals. I think quite a while ago, and there's always little technicalities come up. Somebody did something wrong in the process. A judge steps in, and the delisting keeps getting delayed. And the problem I have, or what I hear about it, you get people who you get a backlash. Well, you met your goals, you're not delisting, so we're going to keep these animals delisted or listed forever. Yeah. And you get people who, and I think justifiably so, say that the process just takes so long, you know, and it never gets to the point where, you know, once you meet your goals, then you delist.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really sort of well encapsulated argument that a lot of people are making. You know, the Minnesota DNR believes that the repopulation goal under the Endangered Species Act has been reached. U.S. Fish and Wildlife, I need to make sure I calculate this properly. The USDA, John Hart, who's responsible for wolf management in this area, believes that number has been reached. And there is a lot of frustration, both regionally, by people who believe that it's time to manage wolves, to allow the states to manage wolves, and they see lawsuits slowing that down as just sort of legal play. And I can appreciate that, and I can appreciate you know, a rancher or a farmer or someone who loses a pet. I can appreciate that and see their take on it and say it's time to manage these wolves. On the other hand, I can also appreciate people who have that same bit of mistrust of the government and say, well, if we do take it back to state management, we're going to have states who are going to exterminate the wolves again, or try to. And so I think it's a dicey area, and we see it. I read blogs all the time that say, you know what, we've reached the number, and the government is just interfering with the natural process that needs to happen. And then I read something else really convincing on the other side. So
We're running a little low on time, but wasn't there an article about some wolves in Rochester area this past week that were getting too friendly with people or something?
Yep. You know, I saw the headline, and again, I didn't have a chance to read that, and so I should know that one.
But the DNR, I think, eliminated it.
Yeah, that's what I believe is the truth, but I can't. My hunch is you read the story right, but I am not 100% familiar.
Just super quick.
Yep.
What's the approximated population of wolves in the Ely, Winton, just the surrounding areas?
That's a darn good question. I should know that one off the top of my head. Can you stop the tape for a second? You know, I don't know that, and I should. If you, I can send a group. I can send an email or have you send it out with a follow-up to the answer to that question.
I would, yeah, I'd be very curious.
If you, yeah, and I should know that off the top of my head.
One thing's for sure, the Wolf Center is working because 25 years ago when you first formed the group that started this, and the conversation in the bars that I overheard was, when are the wolves going to lay their eggs this year?
I'm no scientist, but I know where that one goes. All right. I do have one article that I would really recommend. It's really interesting. It's wolves in the Midwest versus the West. What's the difference? And the answer is us. What we're finding more and more is wolf management has to do a lot more with our perceptions, beliefs, and decisions than it does with the wolf's behavior. And this highlights some really interesting stuff. I'll leave it up here, and you can feel free to take a copy. I think it kind of encapsulates a number of things that are really important. So,
Jerritt, thanks. You filled up an hour. That's for sure.
Thanks a lot.